From Greater Sandton and beyond, get ready for the Sandton Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome everyone in between and beyond. This is the Sandton Times Hour, also available on all leading digital audio platforms. And if you'd like to get in touch, let me remind you how to do that. If you want to send through your questions, comments, or feedback, you can do so by using the email address editor@sandtontimes.co.za. You can connect on social media @Sandton Times and also visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. And if you send those emails, mention that you heard it on the radio show or on the podcast. Bump you up to the top of the email pile. Let's call it that. A very special welcome to everyone listening for the very first time. If you have never tuned in and you're tuning in or downloading or streaming or however you're listening to this for the very first time, well, a very special welcome to you. Take a seat, pull up, get yourself something cold or something warm to drink, and join us for the next hour as we delve into all things Sandton and beyond. And of course, if you're a regular listener to the Sandton Times Hour, a very special welcome to you as well in Johannesburg and Pretoria, across South Africa, and everywhere else in the world. If you're listening online or on air, wherever you are, I'm happy to report that all is well in Sandtonland. And for those who regularly tune in, they will know that at this point, I make reference to Vincenzo and welcome him back behind the mixing desk. Vincenzo, buongiorno. Buonasera, depending on what time you're listening to this. Can you believe it, Vincenzo? We're nominated for an award. Isn't that cool? The Sandton Times Hour is nominated for a Podcast of the Year award at the African Podcast and Voice Awards 2024. And I'm very chuffed about that. Forged in lockdown, in a time that we would all probably want to forget. Remember those days, lockdown and levels and stages and what else do we have? There it started in 2020. And here we are right now. And thank you to our ever-growing community of listeners that make it all worthwhile. Doing this every single week, producing this show. I mean, it takes almost a whole week to put this thing together. At the end of September, we will know what the final results are. We're up against 5 other podcasts across the continent in this category. And there were about 5,000 submissions across various categories. But I am very proud and very chuffed that we are nominated for a Podcast of the Year. So that's really fantastic. So congratulations, I think, to the team behind the scenes. And of course, you listening for getting us this far. You know what? A nomination's great. As I remember having that conversation with Will Smith many years ago about the Oscars. Nomination's always great. Once you've won, then the pressure's on. But let's see. Talking about winning or losing or, missing it by a breath, the Springboks against Ireland over the weekend. Oh, yeah, so close. And what can we say? Hopefully they reversed the island visa that they reinstated after the previous match. Do they get to withdraw it now? I don't know. Gee whiz, hey? With the green mamba, hey? The South African passport. Where it will and won't get you. On the sporting note, congratulations to the champions of the UEFA Euro 2024. I mean, I didn't quite expect that, but well done nonetheless. And a win is a win, right? Even if it's by a small margin, a large margin. If you've won, you've won. And I guess now we get to focus more on the rugby. And of course, the Olympics. The Olympics are coming up as well. And then, we've also just gotten through Wimbledon as well. So much to watch. So much to watch on TV when it comes to sport, actually. It's quite remarkable. It's been another colourful week, or another colourful weekend in the world. I mean, how was that attempt on Donald Trump's life, Vincenzo? I mean, that is just the most... God, just when you thought you've seen it all and you've heard it all. I mean, this is certainly going to be a change maker in the US election race, which we'll also keep a distant eye on, but we'll keep an eye on it nonetheless. It is a little bit outside of the realms of Sandton, but... just incredible headlines. And what else happened this week? Oh yeah, Samsung launched its new product range, and we did pop something up on the website. if you're into wearables and phones and all that kind of stuff, you can check that out. And then Jacobs and Cadbury, they brought out a bit of a collaboration, a bit of a coffee mocha choca type drink that you can have in winter. And they had a bit of a launch around that as well. So that's been interesting. A real mixed bag of tricks this week. So, who are we talking to this week? In a bit, I'll be catching up with an award-winning journalist and author to chat about his latest book looking at the decline of Johannesburg and what it'll take to fix it. This is going to be a really great chat. Then I'll be chatting to the producer of a big band experience that kicked off this weekend at Monte Casino. Stay listening for that. If you're into live entertainment and you like a nice live big band, this is going to be great. And finally, I'll be sharing some interviews with you as a major cocktail bartending competition gets underway in Sandton this week. All this and more in the next hour.
Show some love.
Subscribe, share,
Leave a review and rating for the Sandton Times Hour.
on your favorite podcast app now.
Dodging winter blues or gunning for a deadlift PB? Whatever your reason, ignite your winter fire with Virgin Active. Join now. Score July free, plus up to 50% off fees for 3 months. Call 0860-GET-FIT or visit a club to get started. virginactive.co.za. T's and C's apply. Everybody has a reason.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
Well, Zama's running riot, water cuts, load shedding, exploding streets, potholes, questionable mayors, and the list goes on and on and on. Well, award-winning journalist Nickolaus Bauer examines the current crisis in Johannesburg in a new book that he's written called Great Johannesburg, and we can debate that afterwards. And he joins me on the line to discuss this new book in more detail. And Nickolaus Bauer, it's great to have you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Yeah, thanks very much for the opportunity, Alexander. And I love speaking about Johannesburg. Johannesburg is great, regardless of what the people are saying.
Well, let's see how we feel after the next couple of minutes. What inspired you to write a book about Johannesburg? I mean, apart from the fact that, it's obviously what I would consider home.
Yeah, I mean, Johannesburg has been in my veins from the very get-go, right? I'm a born, bred, buttered, and corrupted Johannesburger. And this book has really been in me for a very, very long time. I grew up in the West Rand. I grew up in Roodepoort. Started reporting on the city as a journalist in 2008. I lived in the inner city from 2010. I lived in Ponty, that concrete toilet roll holder on the skyline. I lived there from 2012 for 6 years. Started a social enterprise called Lala and Jay in 2012 that's still around today, taking people on tours through the inner city. And I also worked for the city of Johannesburg in 2022 for a year. So I think that, not only am I passionate about the city, but I had like a unique viewpoint in terms of the sort of very broad experience that I had as a journalist, a social impact entrepreneur, and also a civil servant. So, I mean, when you have an itch, you have to scratch it sometimes. And this was definitely a itch that I needed to scratch. Joburg book was a long time coming, and I'm glad that I did end up writing it.
So you've lived in the city physically, you've been in there emotionally as well, living there, working there. I mean, you've pretty much gone through all the layers that one can go through when living in a city. But there has been a definite decline of Johannesburg since those days of when they first found gold and then this evolution. And now it almost feels like the city's been abandoned.
Yeah, in many ways, you could say that the old city centre has largely been abandoned by business and investment. And as a result, it's, been taken over by low-cost rentals and nefarious landlords, people trying to make a quick buck, and also, people just trying to survive, find the cheapest accommodation possible and eke out an existence. But, that's not to say that Johannesburg is dead and buried, right? I mean, Johannesburg has always been this dodgy hustler's haven. There's something deeply unnatural about a place that was founded nowhere near a water source, nowhere near a coastline. But that's exactly what Johannesburg is, right? It's the world's biggest city without a meaningful water source. And it's a place where 40% of all the gold in the history of the earth, just think about that for a second. 40% of all the gold that's ever come out of the earth, historically, came out of Johannesburg. And it's all along that nice, long vein of gold that stretched from east to west in the city and basically tracked a road called Main Reef Road. And the point that I'm trying to make in the book is that while the massive amounts of gold may be gone, and the big mining operations are also gone, the main resource that Johannesburg has now is its people. And that's what can really make it shine. And that's what can really turn this place around is Joburgers. There's no burger like a Joburger, as the old adage goes. And if we want to see the city of Johannesburg, never mind thrive, for the moment, just survive, all Joburgers need to get busy in their own corner of the city and try and make a difference just in their immediate vicinity, right? Because it's not going to be the politicians that save Johannesburg. It's really going to be the people. I think that's our best shot at this point in time.
And I think we want to get into that before we close off this conversation about what are some of those solutions. But what are some of the more surprising and alarming findings that you had when you were researching this book and sort of putting it together?
So number one, George Harrison, not the Beatle, but a guy by the name of George Harrison. You'll find his statue as you enter Johannesburg from Bruma, just going past Eastgate. It's a big bronze statue of a guy holding up a piece of rock, right? And he's apparently the guy that discovered gold on the corner of Nasrec and Main Reef Road way back in like 1886, right? But I use that term discover very loosely because it's quite a colonial viewpoint on things. If you look at the fact that there's smelting furnaces in Melville Koppies dating back to the 11th century, showing that the San and Botswana from all those centuries ago were already exploiting the mineral deposits of Johannesburg. Apart from that, like from a safety and security point of view, Joburg has also always been this dodgy, lawless place due to the fact that we have this city that only had a prosecutor 15 years after it was founded. And you'll see, like for instance, cash and transit heists are a major issue in the city right now, major issue in South Africa. When did they start? They actually started in 1970. That was the very, very first cash and transit heist. And if you want to go back even further, I mean, like hijacking started at the turn of the 20th century because, it wasn't guys holding up people for their Beamers or their Mercedes. They were actually holding them up for horse-drawn carriages and the bounty that was carrying them. So what I loved about this book is that every part that I researched really showed that history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it does certainly rhyme, because there's, for every weird and wacky, crazy thing that's happened in Johannesburg, it's happened before. There's precedent there. And based on that precedent, we can begin to not only accept Johannesburg for what it is, but also try and look beyond the challenges and see the opportunities in those challenges to turn the city around.
It's quite fascinating. Well, I'm chatting to award-winning journalist and author Nickolaus Bauer about his new book, Great Johannesburg. We're going to take a quick break and more of this conversation straight after that break, so stay with us.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
I'm picking up on my chat with award-winning journalist and author Nickolaus Bauer about his new book, Great Johannesburg, a comprehensive analysis of the current malaise that is Johannesburg, including corporate corruption, mayoral musical chairs, a cauldron of cultures, and a hustler's haven. And Nickolaus, we were chatting about some of the concerns that a lot of us have about the city of Johannesburg. We know where the bodies are buried, I suppose, in terms of the issues that we have. In your opinion, what are some of the most critical steps that need to be taken to make sure that the decline doesn't continue and we start seeing a recovery and Johannesburg can join some of the notable names of cities around the world that are just shining?
I think that the easiest thing to do from a citizen perspective is to stop moaning and trying to do something, all right? And it starts with something as simple as going beyond knowing your councillor. I think that's like a good start. Know who your councillor is in your particular area and get on top of the service delivery challenges that your particular area is facing. And I mean, when I say get to know your councillor, don't just moan, right? Like find out how you can maybe even walk shoulder to shoulder with them in addressing a lot of the service delivery challenges that they have. I think one of the interesting questions that I keep on asking people, I wrote an elections guide in the run-up to the 2024 election. Like, we may know who our councillor is, right? But how many people actually know who their member of parliament is for the area that they're being represented in? And I mean, 98% of the people that I asked, they did not know who their member of parliament is. And it's important to the story that I'm trying to tell you, because if you think that lining up to vote every couple of years, whether or not it's in a local or a national election, is the be-all and the end-all of being a citizen, I hate to break it to you, that's just not going to cut it anymore. We need to be very proactive about what needs to happen. And I'll give you a very practical example, right? Cable theft is a massive issue in the city. And when I was working for the city of Johannesburg, I was working for the department that was responsible for city power, and they burnt through 3 years worth of maintenance and repair budget in a couple of months just due to this vandalism and cable theft. But the areas where there were active communities taking a proactive stance on the thing by trying to not only be aware about where their electrical infrastructure is, but actually making sure that it was safe. Not like standing guard and standing sentry, although some communities were doing that, but like just being aware. You could see that statistically, the amount of theft and vandalism that was happening in those areas was markedly less than other areas where citizens were doing nothing but just moaning about the fact that they didn't have lights. And it's these little things that I think is a great multiplier, because it just takes one person doing the right thing for other people to join in. And before you know it, there's a turnaround. Another great example of this is the Wilds in Johannesburg. It's a botanical garden just outside the inner city, bordering Houghton, Killarney, and Hillbrow. 10 years ago, that was too dangerous to enter, right? But it took one guy, James Delaney. James Delaney decided that he was going to go into the Wilds, walk through it, see what all the fuss was about. And it just took that one guy saying, well, actually, no, this is a public space. I'm going to actually use it for what it's supposed to be. And within a couple of months, he was joined by other Joburgers. Within, that quickly turned into a movement that turned around the Wilds into an absolute jewel, a green jewel in the middle of the city. So I think that, active citizenry is number one, but there's other more innovative, progressive things that we can start looking at. I'll run through two very, very quickly. Zamas, right? I spoke about the gold. Zamas aren't going to disappear because of the gold price and also the fact that we have such high unemployment, right? There's anything up to 50,000 Zamas operating beneath the surface of Johannesburg. A more progressive way than trying to shoot them out or smoke them out or use violence to destroy them would be to hand out artisanal mining licenses and trying to ring fence the money that we earn from issuing those licenses and also the taxes that you can get from artisanal mining to try and make that industry safer, and also to try and repair the environment after 140 years of mining. It's that kind of progressive thinking that I've tried to include in the book, and it also goes to xenophobia, for instance, right? I mean, we can't wish all of the foreign nationals that are in Johannesburg away, but we can very, very firmly say, you know what, you want to be in South Africa, you want to be in Johannesburg, here is your route to become a legal citizen that pays tax, that employs people. If you don't want to go this route, then you will be deported. But the progressive way of doing things is not to just deport everybody as a one-size-fits-all, but try and look for the opportunity on all of the chaos that we're seeing at the moment, not only when it comes to Zamas, when it comes to xenophobia, when it comes to all challenges in Johannesburg and South Africa for that matter.
Well, I'd also like to add my 2 cents worth, and I'm thrilled to see that we've also got a Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra up and running again, which I think plays a big part. We've also got to sort out our main gallery. I think it's the Standard Bank Gallery in town. I mean, I had the pleasure of attending the City Gallery of Madrid, which has about 8,500 pieces of art and attracts, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of tourists every single year. It is a cultural melting pot, and I think it's these kind of things that also bring people to the city, and with those people comes money, and with that money comes jobs. And if we start cutting away at these issues, like you were just mentioning, the Wilds, also just an incredible place to go to. If you haven't been there, make your way there, go check it out, what's happened there, and hopefully that gives us some inspiration to start getting things going again. Nickolaus, it's been great chatting to you. Thank you so much. Award-winning journalist and author. His new book, Great Johannesburg, go pick it up. It's available at all good bookstores, both online and offline. And Nickolaus, thank you so much for making the time to be on the Sandton Times Hour.
Cheers, Alexander. Vielen Dank. Thank you so much for the time, and I'll speak to you soon.
Wunderbar.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
And as we get into the second half of the Sandton Times Hour, don't forget that if there's anything that caught your attention during the show this week and you didn't get all the details, don't stress. Don't worry if you didn't write it down. You can head over to the Sandton Times.co.za and explore the comprehensive show notes, which will give you further reading, links, and details as to all the things we've discussed. And of course, you can always follow the Sandton Times on social media at Sandton Times on whatever platform you prefer. Well, having kicked off, it's Swingin Las Vegas at Monte Casino, which is a big band experience with all the classics and so much more, and some big names in the lineup. It's happening from the 12th to the 21st of July, only 8 shows. And here to chat to me about this is Adam Howard, the man behind this production. And Adam, it's good to have you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Adam, what inspired Swingin Las Vegas? I know you were behind the fabulous performance that took place over December, which was Swingle Bells.
Yes, it's called Swingle Bells, yeah, with my Johannesburg Big Band. The Johannesburg Big Band was formed way back in 2011. And as a musical director, I run the band, and we've been very busy doing lots of corporate shows, a few public shows, but we really launched ourselves into the public space at the Teatro Monte Casino last year over Christmas with Jonathan Rocksmith. We did 9 performances. 12,000 people came to see that performance. It was amazing, and it really just set us up with a good relationship with the Teatro, with the audience of Johannesburg. And so the Johannesburg Big Band is back on stage for 8 performances. And the show is called Swingin Las Vegas. And it's just paying homage to all the stars that made Vegas, Vegas. And we're going to take the audience on a musical journey through the decades of Vegas, starting with the good old days of Elvis, the Rat Pack years with Sammy Davis Jr., Old Blue Eyes himself, Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. But we wanted to make sure that we just didn't stay in the 50s, 60s. We go into the 70s and we pay homage to Shirley Bassey, Tom Jones. We move on to modern days, Michael Bublé, Robbie Williams, who are flowing the big band flags. Adele, Amy, Kool and the Gang, anybody that's played at Vegas, we've got them in the show.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because, when you first think about it, you do tend to gravitate towards sort of the names of yesteryear. But Vegas continues to be a hotspot for entertainment. I mean, I know Celine Dion, the Backstreet Boys, and so many more. I mean, David Copperfield on a magical front. They all had residencies in Vegas. So Vegas isn't just sort of this nostalgic black tie tuxedo kind of space. It's evolved as well. So it's quite interesting to see that you have brought in a couple of more modern tracks to this experience as well. But clearly there's a formula or a magic sauce that you've created over that December Swingle Bells experience that obviously has resonated with audiences.
Do you know why? I think it's because you really get to see a full big band on stage. I mean, and this is what I've had discussions with before with musicians, and we get to play at the biggest corporate events for the biggest clients, from Audi to Spa to Discovery, and we do themed concerts for these guys. I'm thinking the public never gets to see this. So you really get to see an 18-piece big band. I mean, if you ever looked at behind Robbie Williams, Michael Bublé, Shirley Bassey, Frank Sinatra, you would have seen a full swing band or jazz orchestra. And that never changes. 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, 5 saxes, and a 4-piece rhythm section. We've got timps as well. No tracks, no backtracks, no synthesizer. Everything is real. And I think in this day and age where AI is here and we're on social media all the time, and which is part of our lives, you really get to see the real deal of just live music being played live with amazing singers as well. We've got the best singers in time joining us on stage. We've got Corlia, who, I mean, I don't say this lightly. I mean, she sounds better than all these stars. It's crazy, her vocal skills. And she gets joined on stage with Timothy Malloy, who we say is the 19th member of the big band. He's done so many gigs with us. We've got Craig Urbani, who is resident at the Teatro right now. He's just come off Sound of Music. He's going into My Fair Lady. He's so busy, and we're just thrilled to have him. And then we've got Harry Sideropoulos. And I've been playing with these musicians for years. So it's just a really good culmination of talent that people will see. And to be honest, I can't think of a better venue in South Africa than the Teatro Monte Casino. It's great. It's a 1,800 seater. You've got all the restaurants here, the parking, as we all say, it's nice and safe, but it is my favorite destination to come and actually see entertainment. So it really is going to be as spectacular as we do Swingin Las Vegas.
That's fantastic. I mean, just to take a little bit of a detour on this, I mean, Johannesburg used to be the kind of city where you could go to the likes of a Balalaika or even back in the days, the Carlton Centre, and spend a Saturday evening having dinner and actually having a dance afterwards with a live band. I mean, my parents keep telling me about this, where you would have, a 16-piece or a 20-piece live band, and you'd have a Saturday evening out. That is something of yesteryear, and I'm not quite sure if it's just the economics of it, or if it's just something that was considered old-fashioned and just died away.
No, you know what? I mean, now through Howard Events, I run a company called Howard Audio where I compose music for TV and radio. We do album production. So this is our next arm of Howard Audio, Howard Events. And our mandate to ourselves is, we want to put on big premium events, not with a 5-piece band, which sounds great, and they've got their place. This is an 18-piece band. And we've got big dreams of what we could do in the upcoming years, but we've always talked that we would love to bring back a dinner and dance, exactly what you said, where people have a nice meal and then they can get up and dance. And a big band sound, apart from it being massive, it can be very tender as well. And I think that people resonate with that live aspect as well. So in these days of streaming, in these days of Netflix and chill, in these days of watching performances online, and there is a place for that, but you can never take away people seeing live entertainment on stage. And I think it's going to be that way for the rest of time.
Adam, I think you've also got quite a colorful story as to how you got into producing live music events, because this hadn't been anything that you had done up until a point. And I believe you started working on, and I keep wanting to call it jingle swing, swinging bells or swingle bells. During lockdown. Lockdown happened. You had to postpone it. I mean, I think it's quite an inspiring story coming from where you did, and now on your second show.
Actually, in hindsight, look, I mean, I've been in South Africa as a musician now for 26 years. I came straight from England when I was 24 and came over as a professional trumpet player, and then fell into production and writing music for commercials, and then becoming a musical director, and then being booked by producers or clients. And I think along all this way, I've just been looking at how producers put on these big events, what is involved, and learning from producers booking us. And I think I had to wait until now in my career to be able to look at this and then say, can we produce our own ideas? Can we book the best band and put on the best entertainment? And I think it needed 25 years of me doing so many gigs with so many artists and South African artists, and then thinking, you know what, it's time for a big band. It's time for Howard Events to put the Johannesburg Big Band on stage with our ideas. And I think I needed that time to get to this level.
Well, like they say, a 25-year overnight success. That's how it works, eh?
Pretty much, yeah.
What do you
hope?
hope?
A lot of work in that 25 years, but I'm very appreciative of all the gigs that I've done. And you always learn. Every single gig, you learn something. You learn something what to do, or you learn something. I'm not going to do that. So yeah, an overnight success of 25 years.
Adam, tell me, what do you hope audiences will take away from this experience, from these 8 performances?
Well, you're going to be blown away by the level of musicianship and the level the level of singing. You're going to be blown away by the stage that you see. You're going to be blown away by the lights and the sound. We've got the best suppliers in town. We've got the best lighting. We've got Naledi award-winning directors and stage and sound. And I think you're going to come away thinking, Johannesburg's got a big band, and it actually sounds just as good as Michael Bublé's big band, or Seal's big band, or Robbie Williams' big band. And I think audiences love going to Monte Casino, and I think they're going to come away just having, if it's not the best night of entertainment that they've had this year, I'll be very surprised. It's going to be right up there, and they're going to want to come back to the next concert.
And Adam, thank you to you for keeping these kind of cultural pillars intact, and that makes Johannesburg an attraction, and it's just one of those great things to see. Swingin Las Vegas, starring the Johannesburg Big Band, on from the 12th to the 21st of July. Only 8 shows, so make sure you head over and get your tickets. It's at the Teatro Monte Casino, and the man behind it, Adam Howard, thank you so much for making time to be on the Sandton Times Hour.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
The latest news.
The biggest names.
The best destinations.
The hottest entertainment. This is the Sandton Times Hour.
On the weekend, 9 bartenders from around South Africa were shaking and stirring for their creative career to invent cocktails worthy of a ticket to Shanghai and the international finals of this year's Diageo World Class competition. Now, the national finalists in the world's biggest and most prestigious bar competition went head-to-head to show off their creativity right here in Sandton, as well as their knowledge, preparation techniques, and commitment to continuous learning. I caught up with Ryan Duvenage, Diageo's head trainer in Africa, and also the head judge for the competition, and asked him a bit more about this year's competition.
World Class is a really rigorous competition. We've taken the bartenders through several rounds of competition so far already, from a qualifying round, regional finals, and obviously they're now at national final level. We have a range of different challenges that are testing all sorts of different bar skills, everything from mastery of whiskey, spirits knowledge, blind tasting and identification of spirits, through to actual cocktail creation and mixing techniques. And there's also a whole element of creativity that comes in with creating a pop-up bar experience as well. So it's really testing their creativity, testing their bar skills, and testing sort of a range of different elements that could hopefully take them to the global. Obviously, we're going to have a winner that's going to go and represent South Africa at the global finals in Shanghai. Yeah, they'll be up against bartenders from all around the world, and yeah, hopefully do us proud.
Well, this takes the whole premise of sort of a bartender being someone who just pours you a drink to a whole different level. I mean, this really professionalizes the entire skill, the service, and also just pushes creativity to a whole new level.
Absolutely. What's expected of these guys at this level is really, really high. It's a really high level of competition. It's a really high level of knowledge. And as you say, it's way beyond just pouring a drink. They're expected to have really, really high levels of knowledge of spirits, brands, flavors, culinary techniques, obviously cocktail techniques as well. And yeah, it's a really unique competition when it comes to the range of skills that are being tested.
The competition's been running for a while in South Africa. This year's obviously the 2024 edition. What have people had to do up until this point to get into the finals and now show what they can really do?
Yeah, so we've had various different rounds so far. We started with a qualifying round in the Durban, Cape Town and Johannesburg, as well as Port Elizabeth. That was sort of a cocktail creation competition, essentially based around a single ingredient. So taking a single ingredient and finding creative ways to utilize that ingredient in all sorts of different applications, different formats, different like using it in different ways to create a really interesting, sustainable cocktail as well. From there, we selected regional finalists. And we had regional finals in Durban, Cape Town and Johannesburg. There we had Tanqueray and Don Julio challenges, where, again, various different cocktail challenges around creation and presentation of different drinks. And from that point on, we selected our national top 10. We took the top 2 from each of the 3 major cities, and then the next highest scores, regardless of where they came from. And that makes up our national top 10. Unfortunately, we had one competitor who had to drop out at the last minute. So we're down to a top 9, but yeah, that's where we are now.
I mean, some people might argue that the judging process must be the fun part because you get to taste all the drinks, but this is not just a really great way of tasting fantastic cocktails. Absolutely. I mean, what goes into the actual judging of this? What are you looking for? Yeah. What are you hoping to see from the contestants? Yeah,
so the judging is challenging. It's as fun as it sounds, drinking cocktails. You are drinking them for 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day for 3 days straight. It's quite taxing. So we do our best to sort of be very professional about it. We have a range of different scoring criteria for each challenge. They are slightly different depending on what the challenge is actually looking for. But in general, we're looking to evaluate the cocktails themselves in terms of taste and balance and appearance and things like that, as well as the presentation skills of the bartender. And then there's normally some sort of element of evaluation of creativity or conceptual sort of presentation or whatever it is.
How would you say South African bartenders measure up against the rest of the world?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. We've so Julian, who's actually one of our co-judges this year, last year's World Class winner for South Africa, did really, really well last year, and also received a couple of additional accolades like the sort of the Bartender's Choice Award and things like that. So he did really, really well. But over the years, we've had a mixed bag. Sometimes a little bit of a bit out of our depth, I think, and then other years we've done really, really well. But generally, we do ourselves proud, I think, given that we are not always seen as being sort of at the forefront of cocktails globally, we at the highest end of our sort of bar industry, our bartenders are definitely of a really world-class standard.
That was Ryan Duvenage, Diageo's head trainer in Africa and, of course, head judge for Diageo World Class in South Africa. I also caught up with Julian Short, the owner of Sandton Times in Rosebank, a judge this year, but also last year's World Class national champion. And I asked him about stirring things up behind the judging sheet this year versus being behind the bar, shaking things up.
So being a judge is a lot more emotionally taxing than I thought it would be. I thought being a judge would just be a lot easier, but at the same time, I'm quite empathetic. I'm feeling a lot of the emotions for the competitors, but at the same time, I feel like I'm ready to be a judge, if that makes sense. I'm ready to hand over the reins, and I think that the winner is in this room, in this competition, and it's obviously they have to be, but I mean, I think these guys are the best of the best, and it's really cool to be on this side, just watching, and to hopefully find the best person out here. But being a judge is surreal. Yeah, I've never been on this side like this before, so yeah.
What does it mean for some of the contestants in here, even just winning the South African leg, never mind going overseas and ranking there?
I think it's just, ultimately, it's kind of something you've always worked toward. So winning World Class in South Africa is something, when you start bartending in South Africa, you want to win World Class, especially in South Africa. I think for the guys, it's just a huge goal in a career. You get bragging rights, you get all the things, and it'll change your trajectory as a bartender.
Is that kind of some of the things how it impacted your career? Is that what you felt when you kind of won these different legs?
Yes, hugely. I mean, like, I've won it twice. The first time I won it was a huge step up in my career, big bragging rights, all those kinds of things, and it kind of had that effect on me. The second time I won it, I was like, it's cool, but that's not why I wanted to win it. Why I wanted to win it was so I could go overseas and represent my country and myself in the best way possible. The first time I won it, I was like, yeah, I'm so cool. Second time I won it, I was like, it's cool, but that's cool, but that just gives me one step closer to accomplishing the bigger dream. So.
Did you feel it also put like pressure on your shoulders in terms of people coming with massive expectations when they drank at your institution, at your space, when you prepared a cocktail, that they would have a cocktail that would blow their mind, or that would reinvent their life in some way or another?
The first time when I won it in 2017, that was the expectation. I was like, man, every drink I need to make, it needs to be perfect. Everything needs to be really good. After the years that kind of went by, the second time I won it, I was like, I know I'm good. And the drinks I serve, I'm not serving them too. Running an establishment becomes more... it becomes a team effort. Do you know what I mean? And like our output is good, and that is the standard. And I kind of had a lot more assurance the second time. I was like, I know I'm good. I know I'm a great bartender. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have gotten this far. The next part is the mentality of, are you actually ready to win this thing on a global level? What does that take? Yeah, the first time was a lot more like I felt so much pressure. The second time, I actually had a lot less pressure on my shoulders because I was like, I'm going for me. I mean, obviously, but I'm like, I'm a professional. I've come this far. This is just another step in the right direction. And so from here onwards, I just need to do the best I can do. And if I don't do well, then that I need to learn more lessons. But I felt like I'd learned a lot of them for the second time I went over. I was a lot more prepared. Yeah.
What is the secret to a good cocktail? Like, what do you think makes up a great drink?
I think that's a great question. What makes a good cocktail? And there's so many answers. My favorite answer to what makes a good cocktail is if you'll order another one of those. If it's on the menu, you go to the bar, you order that drink, can I have another one? And it's as simple from making like a margarita, because someone likes tequila, but then taking that and going, okay, well, look, I've actually made something from scratch here. This is a seasonal ingredient. I'm using this like tomato, I'm using this strawberry or something like that. So I think what makes a good cocktail at the end of the day is just whoever's making it for you makes it with intention and purpose. Like they want to make a good drink and they understand what that means. So.
What advice have you got for some of the people competing in this year's competition? What is a key element that they need to include in their drinks to really stand out?
I think a key element, what we're looking for this year from the competitors, quite simply, is for them to be themselves, to be unique, to be individual. And when I say unique, just kind of do the things that make you you. Don't try and be anybody else in this competition. I want to see a lot of the people's personality come out. You can obviously make good drinks, otherwise we wouldn't be here. And the drinks are such a small part of it. I want to meet the bartenders. I want to understand who they are, where they come from to this point.
Well, that was Julian Short, the owner of Sandton Times in Rosebank, and this year a judge, having won last year's World Class National Championships. And you might remember that we spoke to him after winning last year's event. And by the end of this week, we'll know who this year's grand winner is. And with that, that's all we have time for this week on the Sandton Times Hour, an award-nominated show, mind you. As always, available on all good podcast platforms, including Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and so many more. If you want to get in touch, you can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za or connect on social media @Sandton Times and visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za and feel free to send through your questions, your comments, your feedback, your content input. All of this is only possible thanks to our community. And thank you to all our guests for this week who've made the time to be on the show, as well as the great teamwork that goes on behind the scenes to make this happen every single week. Thank you for listening, and we'll do it all again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the Sandton Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.